Here is question number 1. Multiple select. Where can name to IP mappings be found? All right, every single answer on the board here is absolutely true. Bob's my favorite fictitious user. And then he's going out, he's got a network he's connected to, and then there's probably a firewall, and then there's the rest of the internet. And maybe he has an internal DNS server, or perhaps he's got a DNS server he's using like Google at 8888 or something. So Bob makes a request to the DNS server, and then that DNS server, if it's cached, it can respond back. So a local DNS server cache could answer back and tell Bob what the IP address is for Cisco.com without having to go out any further because it's cached locally. So a lot of you got that. Great. Fantastic. The local client cache, when Bob finds out what Cisco.com is, Bob's computer is going to also cache that for a period of time. So that can be cached there. The non-authoritative DNS servers, let's imagine that we have our root DNS servers, and we have our top-level domains, and then we have our authoritative servers. There might be another layer in there. But when a request goes out, it might have to go to the root and the top-level domain and then an authoritative server for that domain, like Cisco.com. And that would be an authoritative server that knows, hey, Cisco's IP address is this. Or it could be another DNS server in the path that had that information also cached, which could have responded as well. So if we take a look at something like this, where I did a NS lookup, which is a great tool to do name resolution, and I said NS lookup Cisco.com. I accidentally put a slash there at the end. That doesn't need to be there. And it showed me who resolved this for me. I'm using Cisco's umbrella, who the DNS server is, and then the non-authoritative answer came back telling me that Cisco.com is at this quad A record for IPv6 and this A record for IPv4. And it's non-authoritative because it didn't come back from the DNS servers literally at Cisco. It was cached somewhere in the path. And that's why it's specified to be a non-authoritative answer that's coming back. Which options, plural, restrict inbound telnet access on the VTY lines? When people connect in with SSH or telnet, they're logically connecting on the VTY lines. Now, by default, those VTY lines on many routers are 0 through 4. 5 different VTY lines, but a lot of devices have more. Like a multi-layer switch will normally have by default 0 through 15, which is 16, and you can also create more. So these are just logical placeholders when people connect to the router via telnet or SSH. So if we went to the VTY lines, like line VTY 0 space 15, and we said no login, it sounds bad, but but what it really means is there's no login required. That's what no login does. No login says no login required at all. So if we're using telnet, for example, somebody would telnet and we just let them in, like, okay, you're in. In fact, let's do this real quick as a fun little exercise. Let me clear that off. Let me bring up this window. All right, so this is core 1. It's a multi-layer switch. We do a show run section line. That's just going to show us the running config regarding line configuration. So I've got 0 through 15, these are the defaults. So transport input all right here just basically says, yeah, telnet, SSH, it's all good, bring it on, which is not good. We know, you and I, that in a production environment, we don't want to use telnet because it's plain text. I mean, eavesdropping on that's going to sniff out our passwords and any configs that we send back and forth. But for this demonstration, let me go ahead and do no login. So config T line VTY 0 through 15. That's our 16 VTY lines. And we'll say no login. All right, let me just make sure I have an IP address we can connect to. Another great thing to do is after I make a change on a device, I just want to verify the change took. So I'm just going to do a show run pipe section line again. And sure enough, I got no login on 0 through 4 and also 5 through 15. Don't shoot the messenger. That's just how they carve it up when they put the output. All right, so let's take a look at our IP addresses. Show IP interface brief. There we go. Oh my gosh, so many interfaces. Let's do this. We can do show IP interface brief, pipe, exclude, unassigned. Anything that has the word UN in it, one lot show up. That'll save us a little bit of output. Okay, so I've got 10.10.0.1. Let's go to another switch, another multi-layer switch, and let's telnet from here. All right, and we'll do a telnet to 10.10.0.1. Was that the address? Nope. Nope, Keith, it wasn't. Let's see here. Core. Oh, I'm on switch 1. Switch 1 is an access layer switch. It has no IP address. That's why it can't do anything. So I need to go to core 2, which does have an IP address. Let's do a ping. 10.10.0.1. All right, he shoots, he scores, so we know that we have connectivity at layer 3. Let's do a telnet to 10.10.0.1. It's trying. Look at that. So we are telnetted in, and we can verify that by doing a who. That's effectively the command of show users. And it's going to show us, I got to press enter here. And that's going to show us who's connected. So I'm logically connected on VTY line 0, and I'm coming in from this source IP address of 10.20.0.2. So no login, not good, because it's going to allow people to connect without having to log in. Here is question number 3. Multiple select. Good luck, everybody. Which of the following use or are connectionless protocols? Look at that. Look at that right there. Okay, well, let's talk about these for a moment. TFTP uses UDP at layer 4, and it is the well-known port of 69, and the ports don't really matter too much, but UDP is connectionless. There's no sequencing, there's no acknowledgments, it's just boom, there you go. At the application layer, we have some checking and stuff, but it is connectionless. It's using layer 4 UDP. DHCP is also leveraging at layer 4. It's using UDP. A DNS request is using UDP, and that is port 53. UDP is connectionless once again, but the one that most people didn't answer correctly was IP. IP is absolutely connectionless as well. At layer 3, let's talk about this for a moment. At layer 3, IP in the header, it doesn't give a hoot. It doesn't care. It's just like, I'm sending a packet, and routers are routing that stuff. And at layer 3, in the IP header, there's no acknowledgments, there's no sequencing. It's absolutely connectionless at layer 3. Now, that may be a concept that we haven't talked about. I mean, that maybe you haven't been introduced to before, but it is absolutely true. At layer 3, by itself, it is connectionless. All we're doing is shipping packets around the network and hoping that they get there. There's no acknowledgments for an IP packet at layer 3. Now, at layer 4, if we use something like TCP, we have acknowledgments and synchronization requests and windowing and so forth, but not at layer 3. All right, don't shoot the messenger, but now you know. Onward and upward, we have Dynamic Bison in first place with 7,547 points. I'm super glad that you're here. My objective for this channel is to help people get their CCNAs. I was going to say CCIAs, but that's the next step. But CCNAs, that's my goal. My goal in life for this channel is to help people who honestly want to study and learn the technology, and I can tell you why. It will change your life. It will. It's a stepping stone. It's not the end. It's a stepping stone. But you make this stepping stone. I got my CCNA back in 1998? 1999? Yeah. And then 3 years later, I got my CCIE, but I studied almost all the way between that. But it's a game changer. It's good to know. And so once you get your CCNA, go on to the next step and the next step. And my objective is to help you achieve that and get you there. And some of these questions that I carve out or craft, they are specific to help you understand the technology and confirm whether you get it or not. And if you don't, you have time. You're not taking the exam right now. Actually, maybe I have a few people in Discord who are taking it this weekend. But if you're not taking the exam right this moment, this is a great opportunity to practice and rehearse and get better. All right, question 4 of 10. With Inside Source NAT or PAT, what is the public address of the client? There's 4 choices. There's only one correct answer on the board. Good luck. Alrighty. So we show media. There is also a video that I'm going to refer you to rather than covering this all again. There's a video I did about, 10 months ago. And it is, I'm not sure why I'm doing my hair there. Anyway, that's what it chose to do. It's called Nat Lingo for Cisco CCNA 200-301. And it talks all about inside, outside, local, and global, how you can use some really great ways to remember what those represent. Okay, 33 of you nailed it. Way to go. Congratulations. Here we go. Next question. Balanced Ant just raised themselves to 8,090 points. Congratulations. And Tone has said, how old were you when you got your CCNA? Keith. Let's see here. Let's do some quick math, shall we? I was born in 1964, and I got my first CCNA in 1990. I guess it was 1998, 1999. So somebody do the math on that. You can determine how old I was. When I got my CCIE in 2001, I had 4 or 5 children at that time. I'm a father of 7. And so was it easy to carve out enough time to study for that? No. Was it worth it? Yes. And it starts with your CCNA. So if you're looking for getting rid of any excuse, consider me as one of those options of getting rid of all your excuses for not doing it. Oh, life's so hard. Life is hard, and it's not fair. It's so not fair. People have, some benefits of being in the right place or time and so forth, and it's not fair to people who aren't. But no matter what happens in life, we can make it better. We can't make it perfect, but we can make it better by having little individual goals and applying ourselves and just getting a little bit better and continuing studying. So my challenge for you, I'm talking to you, is get your CCNA. Yeah, do it. Just do it, and do it in less than 6 months. Set a goal for at least 6 months or less. If you set a goal for like 2 years, it becomes a hobby, and I would prefer it not to be a hobby. Get your CCNA, and then use, helping other people get their CCNA as the hobby, but keep on going for your CCNP or Checkpoint or Palo Alto or, whatever the technology, or cloud, Amazon or Google, whatever you want to do. But get it now and keep on going. All right, that's my, I'll get off my soapbox, but that's what I'd love you to do, is get your CCNA, and I would love to help you get it. All right, moving on. Here's question 5 of 10. What blank allocates and controls random access memory and CPU resources for virtual machines? It's a hypervisor. It's a hypervisor. All right, good job. Most of you nailed that. Congratulations. Hypervisors control the environment for the VM. They pull from the physical resources on the host, and they allocate those dynamically to the virtual machines. Balanced ant. Wow. Followed by lovely lion, red finch, dynamic bison, and epic tiger. Okay, we are more than halfway through. Here's question number 6. It is multiple select. What does, quote, service password dash encryption, end quote, apply to? What does that apply to? Wow, that's great. A lot of you got the right answers. Perfect. Future plain text passwords and current plain text passwords. What the heck does that mean? Well, let's bring over a networking device. This is a multi-layer switch. If we do a show, let's put a password on the VTY lines. Config T, line, VTY 0 through 15. Actually, let's go through 0 through 100. Let's see if it supports it. Yeah. So I just created an extra, 100 minus 16, whatever that is, 84 lines. Anyway, for all those VTY lines, not that we would need that many, if we did a password of, say, Cisco, which is not a great password to use, but I'm going to go ahead and put that one in. And then we do a do show line, or let's do a show run section line. And survey says, as it parses through the entire running config, and it just shows me the line, there's the password. So if we use the command in global configuration mode, service password encryption, like that, and then we hit the up arrow key a couple times and do a show run section line, we're going to see that is, I call it encryption light, really, because it's not really applying an encryption that can't be broken in a few seconds if somebody gets this value, but it is protecting it from somebody just casually doing shoulder surfing or looking over your shoulder at the config, so it's better than nothing. So any future plain text passwords it's going to apply to, it also applies to any current plain text passwords. And that's what service password encryption does. All right. Moving forward, here we go. Oh, I had a question from, who was it? Robert says, what's your advice regarding self-paced learning and following your videos? Let me bring in a small piece there. For the CCNA, everybody within the sound of my voice needs something to study that covers the entire blueprint. That's what I call the exam topics from Cisco. You download it from Cisco. It has like 6 sections, and each of the individual items, what they expect you to know about. So you'd want some course that covers all of that. Now, for me, I'm a visual learner. I like video, and I also read a lot too. I read My wife, she reads tons of books. I read mostly just technical stuff. But anyway, you need some kind of full course that covers everything. And it can be self-paced. That's great. There's lots of options out there. For many of you who know me, I work at CBT Nuggets. We've got a full offering. It's subscription-based. It costs money. There's a lot of other options as well that don't cost money, which are on YouTube. But something that covers everything, and then maybe a good book to refer to as you study. And then I would use that. And then any topics you need to dive in further, use this channel. I mean, whether it's spanning tree protocol or OSPF or layer 2 switching or NAT or security, I've got probably over 200 videos, I think. All are CCNA related, including the quizzes. And I've got playlists that help us with that as well. So I would say get some formal course of study, Robert, that covers everything, and then get a good book like Todd Lamley's book or Wendell Odom's book. Those are my two go-to books. They're both great. And then if you need deeper dives on those, you can read more. And then my channel to help support it. And if somebody can go through my entire quiz playlist and just look at all the questions and say, yep, I understand why that's true, and I can solve it on my own, not just memorizing the answer, that's a really good indicator that you're ready. A really good indicator that you're ready. Because if you notice, all my questions, they're not just like, what's the default port for TFTP? It's more like, which of these protocols are connectionless or connection-oriented or whatever it is, to try to infer your level of knowledge regarding those questions. And I had somebody chat, oh, I hate these multiple choice questions. And that's great. I pose a lot of these that way because I want you to think about it and identify where you need to study. And trust me, as you study and as you get better and better with the technology and you learn it, you're going to use that, and you can use that as you go forward. So instead of just memorizing extended ACLs, you should play close to the source. Why? I have no idea. That's not helpful ever, not even in the current exam. So learning about, for example, access control lists and how they work and why we would use them and the options for them, really learning it and having fun doing it, that's the key. If you can have fun in studies, you can go ahead and just continue studying and have fun and not treat it like a drudgery, because it is fun. It's a lot of fun, especially when you start learning a little bit and then you can apply it and learn a little bit more. It's just great stuff. My goal is for you, I'm talking to you specifically, everybody, to get your CCNA. And there's a lot of resources to do it, and I want to be one that can help you do that as well. All right, Balanced Ant is in first place. Regarding NTP, Network Time Protocol, which of the following are true? Good luck, everybody. All these answers are true. We can use authentication, and if you're studying for your CCNA, as it talks about NTP and configuring NTP and verifying it, I would lab it up at least once or twice. I've got a few labs in my my packet tracer labs. They're at thekeithbarker.com. I've got like 30 plus packet tracer labs. Several of them include NTP. One includes authentication, so I would practice with that. It does use UDP port 123. And routers can be clients or servers for NTP. Fantastic work. All right, here we go. Question 8 of 10. Static IPs were not excluded from DHCP from the pool. What happens? Oh my gosh. Good luck, everybody. So static IPs were not excluded from DHCP. What happens? And the answer, as many of you have jumped on, is DHCP checks prior to the offer. Let's imagine, let's bring up an interface. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and bring over this bad boy right there. So this is a multi-layer switch, and let's see if it has a pool. Show IP DHCP pool. If it doesn't, oh yeah, it does. Great. Yesterday in the office hour, every Saturday at 10 a.m., we hold the Keith Barker office hour on Discord. It's free. Show up and take your CCNA related questions. And we had a few extra minutes, and we actually troubleshot some network gear. And one of them was involved this server with this router with DHCP services running. So we have a pool of addresses. And what happens is, if this device hands out an IP address, what it's going to do by default, you can change the behavior, but by default, this multi-layer switch, the DHCP server, is going to try to ping the address. So let's imagine we're handing out the address of 10.10.02, and the DHCP server gets a discover. Before it provides the offer, it does a ping to the IP address it's about to hand out. And it's like, why would you do that? The DHCP server wants to determine whether or not that I gotta sneeze. Maybe not. Oh my goodness. I do have to sneeze. Oh, not fun. All right, I'll edit that out in the final product. Anyway, the DHCP server is going to ping that address. So that means it's also going to do an ARP request for that IP address in an attempt to ping it. And if it doesn't answer to the ARP, it's not going to be able to ping it because it doesn't exist. It wants to verify that that IP address is not already in use. But if that address that it was about to hand out responds back, the ARP comes back and then the ping works, the DHCP server says, oh my gosh, I'm going to go ahead and remove this from my pool. That's what it does. So the DHCP server is going to check with the ping before handing out an IP address that it hasn't been already used somewhere statically, and it's also going to remove it from the pool. The conflicting IPs, not both used because it won't, if it sees there's a conflict, it won't use it, and the pool isn't disabled, but the actual IP address is removed from that pool, it won't be used, and that's also not true. Also, on a Cisco device, if we go back here for a moment, and let me bring up the device again. That's why it's handy to lab up everything. If we do a show IP DHCP, my favorite CCNA trick, you want to see it? Question mark. All right. Show IP DHCP conflict. There we go. That'll show us whether or not there's been IP addresses that have been, identified already in use that the DHCP server checked and saw, and as a result of it getting a response back, chose not to use it. But currently this guy doesn't have any conflicts, so we're in good shape. A user was told to use 10.35.255.0 with a /13 as an IP address. I gave you 2 minutes for this because I'd like you to answer based on the choices available. Which of the answers are true? I am impressed. I am. That's a tough question. But those people who answered on yellow and green, good on you. And I also want to point everybody else who is needing to, who wants to focus or learn a little bit more about IP addressing and subnetting, which that's what this question is all about. I've got a playlist called Subnet Saturday. It is absolutely free here on YouTube. It is, it's 12 videos long, and it'll walk you through the basics of IPv4 all the way through variable length subnet masking. And trust me when I tell you, if you're serious about learning subnetting and being able to calculate it accurately, this is the playlist for you. So I've had a lot of fun putting that together. It's been around for over a year now, and it's a winner. So please take advantage of that if you'd like to. So here's a confession from a double CCIE. When I see questions like this, I've got to manually think it through to get it correct. I do. So if I have a question about this, I'd first of all say, well, let's take a look at the bits of an octet. 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. I'll tell you what, that just gets my brain going. If nothing else, it gets my brain going like, okay, I can do this. And that represents 1 byte of an octet of data, of an IPv4 address. So then I'd say, okay, 13, that's in the, so right here is the first octet. That's 8 bits, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and there's the new dividing line. So everything over here is network, and everything over to the right is host addressing. So that means that the block size is 8. So if you're brand new to subnetting, that may be news to you, but that's going to be important because that helps us calculate the subnet. So the block size isn't 16. The block size, based on this last bit of the mask that's on, is 8. And that means the subnets are going to be, in the first octet, we don't care. In the second octet, where this is, the subnets are going to be 0, and you just add the block size. Then 8, and 8 more is 16, and 8 more is 24, and 8 more is 32, and 8 more is 40, and 8 more is 48. And that's a fun game that just goes on, not forever, because once you get past 256, you're in the next octet. So those are our subnets. So if we took this right here, 10.35, I'm just going to start right here at 1032. 10.32.0.1 is the first IP address, the first usable IP address, and the next one, or the last address, is one less than the next subnet. So it would be through 39.255.254 be the last valid host, with the broadcast being 255, which, oh no, look at that. That is the broadcast address for that subnet. So this is the 1032.0 subnet with the /13. The broadcast address is this bad boy, and the subnet is 1032, which was right there. So it is a valid host address, and the block size is 8. So again, looking at this question, I literally would have to just take a moment and think about it. For your CCNAs, when you go for your CCNA exam, whether you take it physical or you take it virtual, at your home or office or building, whatever, there's going to be like 100 questions, 102, 103. And many of them, if you know and have practiced and studied, are going to be super easy. It's like, oh, click. Oh, click. And then other ones like this, don't worry if it takes you 3 or 4 minutes. You may think, well, it's 100 questions. I got to get through them all. Not this one. This one, you just go through the logic. And if also a lot of this with a little practice, you can get better over time in doing it in your head. Although whenever I teach it, I always draw it out because I want to make sure everybody who's listening is with me on exactly how this was pulled off. So yeah, a question like this, I would see it and I'd say, oh, I'm going to take 2 or 3 minutes on this one. Yep. And then other questions where it's asking me about, whatever, where I don't need to take 2 or 3 minutes to do any calculations, I would just say, oh yeah, that's it. Subnet Saturdays is the key to that, and I encourage everyone who wants to get better at subnetting to go ahead and check that out here on YouTube. Wow, we have one final question. Now, before we do this, let's also talk about right after. So right after this question, what I'll do is I'll stick around here for a few minutes on this live YouTube stream and take a few questions. Then right after that, a lot of us jump into the Discord server, on my Discord server, and there's a link for that in this video description. I think today, Donald or Kelvin, or maybe both, are going to do some demonstrations of stuff that are interesting. They always are. And if you'd like to hang out for that, it's going to be in the CCNA voice room on the Discord server. That's going to be right after this stream. So join us for that if you're interested or available. Okay, one last question. This is for all the marbles. Good luck. Oh, Fast Rhino's in first place. Whew. All right. Tough round. 3 players lost their answer streak of 4. Oh no. All right, here we go. Last chance to get points for this quiz. Question 10 of 10. Here it is. Why would a router have a default route with an administrative distance, or AD, of 254? Why is that? All right, and let's see how the answers came out on this. All right, not bad. I put a little demo up here, a little example of what's going on. If we have a device, such as a router, that is a DHCP client, and it's learning about a default route from the DHCP server, it's going to have an administrative distance by default of 254 for that dynamically learned route. And that's why yellow is the correct answer. So with BGP, let's talk about BGP for a moment. So if we have router 1 and router 2, and they're running BGP, the Border Gateway Protocol, and they have a neighborship, if this guy's in Autonomous System 100 and this guy's in Autonomous System 200, it would be an external BGP neighborship. If, on the other hand, we had R3 and R4, and they had a BGP neighborship, and R3 was in Autonomous System 34, and R4 was in Autonomous System 34, that would be an internal BGP neighborship. And one of the big differences from a CCNA perspective of being aware of that is that if these guys were both advertising routes, we'll say R1 is advertising the 1.1.1.0 network with a 24-bit mask, and R3 is advertising the 3.3.3 network with a 24-bit mask. Over here on R2, because it's learned via external BGP, that route would have an administrative distance of 20. And R4, when it learned about the 3.3.3 network via internal BGP, that route would have an administrative distance of 200. And that's going to have an impact regarding if those routes make it into the routing table, if there's any competition from other routing protocols or sources for those routes. There's another great video I would encourage you to watch. It's called Why Routes Have to Win Twice. It's also on my YouTube channel. And in fact, let me just bring it over real quick and see if I can find that. Keith Barker, Routes Win Twice. Let's see here. All right, there we go, right there. So routes that must win twice. That's a really great video to help understand the difference between administrative distance, why we care, how it works, and then also once you have routes in the routing table, then which ones are selected. All right, let's take a look at let me move these out of the way. Let me clear off my screen. And I'd like to thank Trevor and also Kelvin for helping me proof these quizzes this morning, or these questions this morning. Always grateful to the admins on Discord. We have about 6,000 people, all willing to help. And here's the winner's table. Fast Rhino, fast Rhino, fast Rhino. All right, fantastic, fantastic. And let's also do this. I'd like a little bit of feedback. These are our toughest questions. Ooh, I am so glad that you're here. These questions are a good gauge of readiness for certification for the topics that our questions are on. And so as a group, we had 28% correct. Little room for improvement. And out of the 10 questions, we had 8 that, based on how they were answered, were difficult. So I appreciate you participating. I will have this quiz. I just checked to make sure I'm recording it, which I am. And let me bring up this camera right here. I'm recording this locally, and then in about an hour from now, I'm going to pull down this video that was recorded off of YouTube, and then I'm going to go ahead and edit the recorded version to make it nice and tight. That way, for future use, when you come back to the quiz playlist, you can go to these nice short videos, like 20 to 30 minutes, which are indexed with chapters. And you can go right to the question and look at it, pause it, and then answer it, and then move forward. Okay, so thank you very much for... let me get some feedback as well. If you have the app open or the webpage for Kahoot, if you could go ahead and provide feedback, that'd be awesome. And then what I'm going to do is I will be happy for about 5 to 10 minutes to take any questions that you might have. And then we'll call it a day. Yeah, I'm a little... And also I'm going to cut off the video here as far as the editing. So anything that happens from here on out won't be part of the permanent record. All right. Also, if you have questions and you'd like to ask them, go ahead. Let me show you my shirt real quick. There we go. There we go. Catnip made me do it. My wife and I we're cat fans. We like a good cat. So that's it for this quiz, this recorded version and the edited version. Thanks for joining me. If you want to participate in the live quizzes, we have them every single Sunday Pacific time at 11 a.m. I'd love to have you there. Meanwhile, have a great day, and we'll catch you in the next live event.
I'm out of reasons, I'm out of rhyme, but I'll only tell you that I'm out of time. I'm sick of love songs, I'm tired of this, and I wanna tell you straight.